Hello aspirants, this is Charita. Today we are going to analyze about the most discussed and debated topic delimitation. To give us in-depth analysis about it, we are welcoming Dr. Harnath Reddy sir, the Faculty of Indian Polity. Hello sir.
Hi Charita, thank you.
Sir, why delimitation has been in news?
The issue of delimitation, it has become a big debate in the recent past, and there are several reasons. Recently, the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, Stalin, and also the Chief Minister of Telangana, Revanth Reddy, they have raised serious concerns about the possible underrepresentation to the southern states after delimitation. They fear a reduced political voice to the southern states, and that's the reason why it has been in the news very much.
What is delimitation and what is the role of the census?
See, the topic of delimitation or the issue of delimitation, it is all about redrawing the boundaries of Lok Sabha constituencies and the Legislative Assembly constituencies based on the changes in the population. Every time when the census is conducted, with the increase in population, the number of seats and also the boundaries of the territorial constituencies are changed. This process we call it as a delimitation. And the number of seats in the Lok Sabha for all the states and the union territories, it depends upon the population of the country. So with the change in the population of the country, the number of seats proportionately will increase. So the delimitation has got an intimate relationship or connection with the census, the recent census.
What are the constitutional provisions which deals with it?
See, the entire process of delimitation has a constitutional basis. It is very clearly laid down in the Constitution of India in Articles 81, 82 and 170 of the Indian Constitution. See, Article 81, it speaks about one citizen, one vote and one value. Article 82 speaks about delimiting the territorial constituencies after every census with respect to Lok Sabha. Similarly, Article 170 of the Indian Constitution speaks about delimiting the territorial constituencies at the state level with respect to Legislative Assembly. So, the constitutional basis for delimitation, it is laid down in Article 82 with respect to Lok Sabha and Article 170 with respect to Legislative Assembly.
What is the composition of Delimitation Commission?
See, when it comes to delimiting the territorial constituencies, the practice has been different in different countries. So, in countries like New Zealand and Japan, there are clear constitutional provisions with respect to delimitation. But in India, the delimitation of territorial constituencies with respect to Lok Sabha and the Legislative Assemblies, it is done through an ordinary law made by the Indian Parliament, so which is called the Delimitation Commission Act. So when it comes to Delimitation Commission, the Delimitation Commission consists of a judge of the Supreme Court, whether serving judge or retired judge. He will act as the chairman of the Delimitation Commission. In addition to that, the chief election commissioner or one of the election commissioners can be one more member in the Delimitation Commission. And again, in every state, we have a state election commissioner created through the 73rd and 74th Amendments. So they all are part of Delimitation Commission. In addition to this, from every state, there are 5 members of Lok Sabha nominated by the Speaker, 5 members of the Legislative Assemblies nominated by the Speaker of the Legislative Assembly. So the role of the members of Lok Sabha, members of the Legislative Assemblies in the Delimitation Commission is to give input and advice to the Delimitation Commission. Whatever advice which the members of the Lok Sabha and the Legislative Assembly give, that is not binding on the Delimitation Commission. They are only advisory in nature.
Do you think the report of the Delimitation Commission can be challenged?
So, in India, it was very clearly laid down even by the Supreme Court in one of the cases called Meghraj Kothari versus a Delimitation Commission 1966. The final orders made by the Delimitation Commission are binding. So, there can't be any judicial review. Even recently, when there was a petition which was filed before the Supreme Court with respect to delimitation of the state of Jammu and Kashmir, the petition was dismissed. The reason given by the Supreme Court is, if there is a judicial intervention in the process of delimitation, it may have the consequence of indefinitely delaying the electoral process. So that's not good for democracy. That's the reason why the courts have chosen not to interfere with the work of delimitation, which means the order given by the Delimitation Commission will be final and it is binding. So the scope for judicial review is almost very limited.
What is the history of delimitation in India?
See, in the last 75 years of Indian Republic, we have done a delimitation almost 4 times. So the first time when we have done delimitation was in 1952 on the basis of 1951 census. Then again we have done it in 1962 on the basis of 1961 census. We have again done it in 1972 on the basis of 1971 census. And again we have also done the delimitation in 2002. But the delimitation which was done in 2002 was entirely different from the delimitation which was done in the first 3 decades. So if you take the delimitation which was done in 1952, 62, 72, the number of seats have proportionately increased over a period of time. So in the first delimitation, the total number of seats in the parliament, in the Lok Sabha, they have increased to almost 494. In the first delimitation, the strength of Lok Sabha was fixed at around 494. Then in the second delimitation in 1962, it was increased to 522, the strength of Lok Sabha. Then in the third delimitation, the strength of Lok Sabha was further increased to 543. So in the first 3 delimitations, when they were done, the strength of Lok Sabha was increased. But if you take the delimitation which was done in 2002, so in 2002, on the basis of 2001 census, again delimitation was done. But here, this delimitation is unique in the sense, the number of seats in the Lok Sabha, they have not changed. The number of seats in the legislative assemblies also have not changed. So only the boundaries of the territorial constituencies were changed to reflect the changed population. So without changing the strength of Lok Sabha, without changing the strength of legislative assemblies, delimitation was done in 2002 to redraw the boundaries based on the 2001 census population. So there was a difference between the delimitation which was done in 2002 and the 3 delimitations which were done before 2002 in 1952, 62 and 72 respectively.
Why were the seats frozen as per the 1971 census?
So the reasons for freezing the number of seats in the Lok Sabha and Legislative Assembly were done with valid reasons. The reasons are, if you see the growth of population in North India and Southern India, so to encourage the states, to encourage all the states in India to focus on bringing the population growth rates by reducing the fertility rates, we wanted to control the population. And the southern states are doing much better in controlling the population growth rate. And if the representation is given on the basis of population with every succeeding census, those states which are doing well in reducing the population growth rates will not have any incentive for doing so. That's why, so Mrs. Indira Gandhi, during the time of internal emergency, through the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act which was done in 1976, the number of seats in the Lok Sabha and the legislative assemblies was frozen, meaning that if northern states continue to increase their population without putting an effort and reducing the population, then they will have no incentive of an increased representation in the Lok Sabha. So this is to create a system of disincentive to the northern states. This is like telling the states in northern India, eastern India, that you need to reduce your population growth rates. If you don't do that, even if there is increase in population in the northern and eastern states, that will not proportionately result in increased representation in the Lok Sabha. So this is an indication, a communication to the northern states to focus on population growth rates, to reduce population growth rates. And initially when this freeze was done in 1976, this freeze was done for 25 years, till 2001 census. And again in 2001, by this time we have Atal Bihari Vajpayee as the Prime Minister. So by 2001, the fertility rates in the northern states they continue to remain very high. So they have not come down to the level of the southern states. So Atal Bihari Vajpayee government felt that this freeze needs to be extended for another 25 years. So they have brought in the 84th Amendment in 2002 and extended the freeze till 2026. So the reason for putting the freeze on the number of seats in the Lok Sabha is simply to encourage the states in North India and Eastern India to focus on reducing population growth rates, reducing fertility rates, thereby trying to focus on population stabilization. These are the reasons behind putting a freeze on the number of seats in the Lok Sabha.
What is the role of states in delimitation?
So if you go by the constitutional scheme of things, the states don't have any role in delimitation except exerting a moral pressure. If you see the provisions of the Constitution of India, Article 327, the power is conferred on the Indian Parliament. So Indian Parliament, by enacting an ordinary law, can provide for the establishment of Delimitation Commission. So the power is with the Union Government and the Indian Parliament. So the states do not have any role and any voice in delimiting the constituencies in this country. So which means it speaks about centralization. And even while finalizing the terms of reference for the Delimitation Commission, the states don't have a role. It would have been better if the states were involved in a greater way, at least in finalizing the terms of reference of the Delimitation Commission. But even this was not done, which means the Union government can have a greater freedom and a greater role in delimiting the territorial constituencies both of Lok Sabha and the legislative assemblies in this country. This speaks about the centralizing tendency in the Indian federalism.
Is there any conflict between democracy and federalism?
There is a opinion which some people have expressed that there is an inherent conflict between democracy and federalism. So what does that mean? So in democracy, one man, one vote, one value. That is the concept. Now, if you see that in union territories like Delhi, an MP represents 20 lakh population. In a union territory like Lakshadweep, Puducherry, one MP represents few thousands of the voters, which means the value of the vote of a voter across India seems not to be uniform. So the requirements of democracy as laid down in the Constitution of India is, or that's what we say, universal adult franchise. So irrespective of religion, irrespective of caste, irrespective of gender, all citizens have the equal right to vote. So every citizen, one vote, one value. But that is not the situation which we are in today. On an average in northern India, the size of the constituency is very high. Close to 20 lakh people are being represented by one MP. But in southern states, less than that population is being represented by one MP, which means the value of the votes of the citizens in southern India is relatively much higher compared to the value of the votes of the people in northern India. So this goes against the concept of democracy. So this is one side of the coin. On the other side, the argument made by the southern states is, in the last several decades, the southern states have invested heavily in health, education, and achieved phenomenal socio-economic development. It's not only that, the southern states have focused much on family planning, they have reduced their population growth rates, they have brought down the fertility rates. And now, because of the extremely good work done by the southern states, now they are going to be penalized when it comes to representation in the Lok Sabha. Because much of the tax revenue of the union government comes from southern states and also from western India. And this money is being used on the recommendations of the Finance Commission of India for development in northern India and eastern India. So there is a feeling among the southern states and western states that the development in northern India and eastern India is being subsidized by states in southern India and western India. So this feeling of injustice being done to the southern states has made it a big issue. So today the southern states, they feel that they are contributing to the central government exchequer, and their money is being used for the development of entire northern India and eastern India. And when it comes to their voice in the parliament, because of delimitation, because of the upcoming delimitation based on the upcoming census, their voice is going to come down heavily. Is this the price which they have to pay for whatever good things they have done in the last several decades? They have achieved phenomenal social and economic development by investing on health, by investing on education, by investing in human resources, by investing in infrastructure, and by focusing on reduced fertility rates, improved infant and maternal mortality rates. That's the question which needs an answer from the central government. Before this entire exercise of delimitation has to be done, the southern states have to be taken into confidence. They must be convinced about the need for delimiting the territorial constituencies to reflect upon the changed population, because democracy is all about equality. Democracy is all about one man, one vote, one value. So if you don't do delimitation as per the changed population, you mean to say that you are compromising on the concept of equality. The value of the vote of a person in South India doesn't match the value of the vote of a person in North India. That's not democracy. So yes, it appears that there is an inherent conflict between democracy and federalism, but that is not the case. So if we go by the true spirit of democracy as laid down in the Constitution of India, irrespective of whatever is the concern of the southern states, we need to delimit the territorial constituencies and accordingly give this, implement this concept of one man, one vote, one value. So if you do that, the representation to the northern states will increase phenomenally. The representation to the southern states will definitely come down, but that is something which is to be done, that cannot be further delayed. We have delayed it for the last 50 years. Initially 25 years, later on another 25 years. So it's now the population has increased by 100 crores between 1971 and today. It was around 50 crores in 1971. Now we have reached 140 crores. So an increase of 100 crore is the population in the last 50 years. So because of the change in this population and democracy, unless the present Lok Sabha reflects the changed demography, then democracy will have no meaning.
What are international practices with respect to delimitation?
See, there are several models at the global level which India can rely upon when it comes to delimitation. We have a country like United States of America, which is the oldest democracy in the world. We also have the European Union. But for example, let's take the United States of America. So in United States of America, the strength of the lower house, which is called the House of Representatives, it is 435. That has been the case since 1913. So the strength of lower house in 1913 is 435. Even today it is 435. So in United States of America, the number of seats in the lower house, they are not increased. So with every census, if there is a change in the population, these 435 seats are redistributed according to the changes in the population. That's one thing, one model which India can look at. But if you redistribute the 543 seats of Lok Sabha as per the changed population, the southern states are going to reduce their numbers in the parliament. The existing number of seats in Kerala and Tamil Nadu, they will come down. Forget about increasing their share in the Lok Sabha. Tamil Nadu and states like Kerala, their existing MPs, strength of MPs will come down. And states in northern India like Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, their representation will increase. So this will definitely create a heartburn. So that's why what we can do in India is, we can increase the number of seats in the Lok Sabha, and with the increase in the number of seats in the Lok Sabha, there will be increase in the number of seats even to the southern states. But the point is, the increase in the number of seats to the northern states will be phenomenally much higher compared to the increase of seats to the southern states. But both will have an increase. Southern states will have a lesser increase, northern states will have a greater increase. If you go by the model of USA, then probably the southern states' share in the Lok Sabha will come down, even from the existing number. So that may create a problem. So we have models like European Union and the United States of America. They can be studied to look at if they can possibly help India in managing this problem.
How to resolve the issue of delimitation?
Redressing and addressing the issue of delimitation has become a very contentious issue. So it is something like having been caught between the devil and deep sea. So it's not that easy, but I have certain proposals which can be looked at for satisfying both the states in North India and also in Southern India. The first proposal would be, if the seats in Lok Sabha are reorganized on the basis of delimitation of the recent census, what is the consequence of that? The consequence is the southern states will have reduced voice, the northern states will have greater voice. So to compensate this, we can look at reforming the Rajya Sabha. As of now, in Rajya Sabha, all the states don't have equal representation. Here we can look for a model of United States of America. In United States of America, the upper house is called the American Senate. So the American Senate has a total strength of 100. In America, there are 50 states. Each state sends 2 representatives. So in United States of America, irrespective of the geographical size of the state, irrespective of the population of the state, each state has got the same representation. Each state sends 2 representatives. So all the 50 states have equal voice. So we can follow the model of United States of America with respect to Indian Rajya Sabha. In the Rajya Sabha, again, we can also take up the recommendation of the Poonchi Commission. So Madan Mohan Poonchi Commission on Central-State Financial Relations in 2007-8 report, it also has recommended that there shall be equal representation to the states in Rajya Sabha. So if all the 28 states in India, along with the 3 union territories having legislative assemblies, if they are given equal representation in the Rajya Sabha, tomorrow, if something goes wrong in the Lok Sabha, if any ordinary bill, if any constitutional amendment bill contains a provision which is against the interests of the states, that can be put on check through Rajya Sabha. So if the northern states are going to have a greater voice in the Lok Sabha, in the upcoming Lok Sabha, at least try to bring a reform in Rajya Sabha. Let all the states have equal voice in Rajya Sabha and equal number of representatives. Then if something goes wrong with the Lok Sabha while deciding on any bill, whether ordinary or a constitutional amendment bill, impinging on the autonomy of the states, that can be brought under check and control by raising the voice in Rajya Sabha. This is one thing which can be done. And then this is a sensible reform. In addition to that, by delimiting the constituencies in the states and increasing the strength of legislative assemblies, there is no consequence. The states in southern India, the states in northern India will not have any issue. The entire issue is about strength in Lok Sabha. So you can do that very comfortably. So according to the changed dynamics of population, in all the 28 states, in all the 3 union territories having legislative assemblies, you delimit the constituencies and accordingly increase the number of seats in the legislative assemblies as per the present population. This will not create any conflict or bone of contention between southern and northern states. But definitely, reorganizing the Lok Sabha on the basis of recent population will create a problem. So that can be partially compensated by giving equal voice to the states in Rajya Sabha. This is the most possible and most acceptable reform which can be suggested to address the problems of delimitation.
The debate on delimitation is never ending. Let's see what will happen.
Thank you so much, Charita, for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts.
Don't forget to subscribe our channel and press the bell icon.